You are ready to buy a limousine, and the first surprise is that a vehicle charging around $150 an hour may leave you with less than $30,000 a year before you fairly pay yourself for the work. For this representative business, you purchase one used stretch limousine, operate in a medium-sized American metropolitan area, drive some reservations yourself, and hire part-time chauffeurs for the rest. Between the vehicle, launch expenses, insurance, permits, and working capital, you place approximately $100,000 into the operation. The limousine produces about $135,000 in annual bookings. After drivers, fuel, maintenance, insurance, marketing, storage, debt payments, and a replacement reserve, approximately $27,000 remains. That amount sounds respectable until you remember what the year required from you. You spent hundreds of nights and weekends driving, answering calls, cleaning the cabin, preparing quotes, and rescuing schedules when something went wrong. Once that labor receives a reasonable value, the return on your invested capital may fall into the single digits. The limousine appears to be the product. Economically, you are selling certainty during moments the customer cannot repeat. A bride is not mainly paying for leather seats. A corporate client is not mainly paying for the interior lights. They are paying for the vehicle to arrive clean, early, legal, and mechanically ready on the exact day and at the exact time promised. One breakdown can erase the profit from several successful bookings. The business can work. It performs best when the vehicle is purchased at a reasonable price, cash reserves remain available, repeat accounts support the calendar, and enough hours are booked without discounting every quiet Tuesday. Heavy debt, weak maintenance, and complete dependence on prom or wedding season can turn the same limousine into an expensive object sitting inside a garage. Start with the vehicle. Current specialty listings show an extremely wide range. Older or high-mileage stretch limousines can appear in the low five figures. Newer custom SUV stretches may cost more than $100,000. The inexpensive vehicle may arrive with worn mechanical systems, outdated styling, or conversion parts that are difficult to replace. The expensive vehicle raises the number of bookings required before the owner begins earning anything. For this scenario, assume you choose a well-maintained late-model stretch sedan for $65,000. Taxes, registration, inspection, initial repairs, detailing, and commercial equipment add $7,000. Insurance deposits, business formation, reservation software, permits, marketing, and garage deposits consume another $8,000. Then you hold $20,000 as working capital. Repairs, premiums, payroll, and loan installments arrive whether the calendar is full or nearly empty. Your real opening requirement is now $100,000. Suppose you invest $40,000 of your own money and finance $60,000 over 5 years. At a representative interest rate of 9%, the loan requires almost $15,000 in annual payments. The lender gets paid during wedding season. The lender also gets paid in January when the limousine barely moves. This creates the first decision without a perfect answer. Using more owner cash reduces the monthly obligation and protects the business during weak periods. It also concentrates more of your savings inside one specialized vehicle. Using more debt preserves cash at the beginning, but every empty weekend becomes a fixed financial obligation. Leasing garage space keeps the initial investment manageable. It also places another landlord ahead of you in the payment line. The advertised hourly rate creates another illusion. Stretch limousine pricing commonly falls between approximately $95 and $150 per hour. Premium vehicles, peak dates, and specialized packages can command more. A customer sees a 4-hour reservation at $150 per hour and assumes you collected $600 for 4 hours of work. The business sees a different schedule. A 4-hour reservation may require 90 minutes of preparation, empty travel to the pickup, waiting between stops, cleaning afterward, and a return trip to storage. The customer bought 4 billable hours. The vehicle and chauffeur may be committed for 6. When the invoice includes a driver gratuity, that money economically belongs to the chauffeur rather than to the return on your investment. Credit card fees, tolls, parking, and disputes about overtime can reduce the invoice further. The most profitable customer is not always the one who travels the greatest distance. A nearby wedding with a 5-hour minimum, predictable waiting time, limited mileage, and a planner who sends repeat referrals can be an excellent booking. A discounted airport transfer that leaves the limousine 40 miles from the next reservation may look efficient on the calendar and perform poorly once the empty return is counted. For the base year, assume you sell 900 billable hours at an average collected rate of $150. That produces $135,000 in bookings. 900 hours equal a little more than 17 billable hours per week. Those hours are not distributed evenly. Several reservations may arrive during the same Saturday evening. Monday afternoon may produce nothing. One limousine cannot serve two weddings at the same time. Demand concentration creates a capacity ceiling long before the wider market runs out of potential customers. Subscribe if you want more businesses reduced to the cash their owners actually keep. Now follow the $135,000. Driver wages and payroll costs consume approximately $28,000 because you hire help for part of the calendar and personally drive many reservations. Federal wage data places median annual pay in taxi and limousine service near $39,000, including tips. The occupation commonly requires evening, weekend, and on-call availability. Dependable chauffeurs are not interchangeable. A late or unprofessional driver can damage years of future referrals faster than a slightly higher wage damages payroll. Fuel, tolls, parking, and road charges consume approximately $12,000. The limousine earns revenue while passengers are inside. It continues burning fuel while repositioning, traveling for cleaning, attending inspections, and returning empty from a distant drop-off. A normal passenger car can move between jobs with little difficulty. A long-stretch vehicle needs more parking space, wider turns, and routes that avoid entrances or streets it cannot navigate safely. Maintenance, cleaning, tires, and repairs take another $15,000 in this scenario. That is a reserve-based assumption rather than an industry average. The limousine contains standard automotive systems together with conversion-specific wiring, lighting, climate controls, doors, seating, and entertainment equipment. A failed rear climate system on a summer wedding day can make the vehicle commercially unusable even when the engine still runs perfectly. Insurance consumes $12,000 in this representative budget. Actual quotes vary sharply according to state, vehicle capacity, operating radius, driving history, vehicle type, and required liability limits. This is one of the expenses most capable of destroying an outdated business plan. A national limousine operator survey reported that 87% of respondents experienced insurance premium increases over 3 years. One quarter reported increases above 25%. Industry leaders were still warning in 2026 that operators without claims could face major increases. Garage space, reservation software, telephones, accounting, permits, advertising, and administration require roughly $16,000. Debt service takes almost $15,000. Finally, you place $10,000 into a replacement and major repair reserve. Total cash leaving the business is approximately $108,000. About $27,000 remains. That amount still includes compensation for your own work. During the year, you personally drove reservations, inspected the vehicle, cleaned it after late-night events, prepared quotes, handled cancellations, coordinated chauffeurs, and answered calls while most people were asleep. Assign only $20,000 of compensation to that labor. The remaining return on your $40,000 of owner capital is approximately $7,000 before income taxes. You created a job worth $20,000 and an investment return worth $7,000. Those figures need to remain separate. An owner can say, "The limousine paid me $27,000," while ignoring what another chauffeur or manager would have required in wages. The company may be supporting the owner's labor without creating a strong return on the money used to buy it. Customer behavior explains why pricing discipline matters. Most riders do not hire a stretch limousine every week. They book around weddings, proms, anniversaries, concerts, funerals, graduations, corporate entertainment, and milestone birthdays. The emotional importance of the occasion increases their willingness to pay. It also increases the financial cost of failure. A restaurant can apologize for a bad meal and offer another one. You cannot recreate a missed ceremony entrance. Customers compare the complete package rather than the vehicle alone. They examine reviews, photographs, response time, cancellation conditions, chauffeur professionalism, and whether a real person answers the telephone. A company with a strong website and dependable communication can defeat a competitor with a newer limousine and slower service. Deposits improve cash flow and reduce casual cancellations. They also create an obligation. Money collected today for a wedding 6 months from now is not free cash. It represents transportation that the company still owes. Spend every deposit on current expenses, and one major repair or refund can create a working capital crisis, even though the bank account previously appeared healthy. Subscribe for more real-world ownership math before the next expensive purchase looks irresistible. The base calculation changes dramatically in a strong year. Assume stronger reviews, relationships with 2 wedding planners, and 1 recurring hotel account raise annual bookings to $165,000. Driver payroll increases to $34,000. Fuel and road expenses rise to $15,000. Maintenance and cleaning reach $17,000. Insurance remains $12,000. Overhead becomes $17,000. Debt stays near $15,000. You reserve $12,000 for future vehicle costs. Approximately $43,000 remains before compensating you for your labor. Pay yourself $22,000 for driving and management. The business produces roughly $21,000 as investment return. That is a meaningful result on $40,000 of owner capital. It still depends on your continued labor and assumes that no major uninsured loss occurs. Now test an ordinary difficult year rather than a catastrophe. A major wedding planner stops sending referrals. Prom demand weakens. The insurance renewal increases. A rear climate control repair removes the limousine from service during 2 profitable weekends. Revenue falls to $105,000. Driver payroll declines to $22,000. Fuel costs fall to $10,000. Maintenance rises to $17,000. Insurance reaches $14,000. Overhead remains $15,000. Debt still requires $15,000. You preserve an $8,000 reserve because eliminating it would only hide the future cost of the vehicle. Only $4,000 remains before paying you anything for your work. You could drive more reservations yourself, postpone marketing, reduce the reserve, or delay maintenance. Each choice improves the current bank balance while increasing another risk. If your labor is worth $18,000 during the weaker year, the operation has produced a negative economic return of approximately $14,000. The account may still show positive cash because you did not pay yourself properly. The investment itself is not performing. The structural danger begins when a weak calendar leads you to reduce maintenance spending. Small problems begin accumulating. Interior lights fail. The air conditioning becomes inconsistent. The photographs online stop matching the condition customers actually experience. Reviews weaken. Wedding planners become less comfortable recommending the company. You discount prices to refill the calendar. The lower rate adds mileage without restoring the margin. Cash becomes tighter, so more maintenance is postponed. The limousine can remain busy while the business underneath it deteriorates. Regulation introduces another layer because requirements depend on where and how the company operates. State and local rules may require permits, chauffeur licensing, inspections, background checks, and specific insurance coverage. Interstate service can trigger federal operating authority and financial responsibility requirements. Federal guidance requires $1.5 million in liability coverage for interstate vehicles carrying 15 or fewer people, including the driver. Vehicles designed for 16 or more require $5 million. Drivers operating vehicles designed for 16 or more passengers also enter commercial driver's license requirements. That creates an important capacity decision. A larger limousine or party-style vehicle can charge more per reservation. It may also require a larger initial investment, higher insurance limits, different driver qualifications, more parking space, and greater maintenance exposure. Extra seats improve the economics only when the market fills them often enough at prices that support the additional structure. Strong operators improve the model through decisions customers rarely notice. They measure revenue per committed vehicle hour rather than focusing only on the advertised hourly rate. When the market allows it, they charge for empty mileage, waiting, cleaning, peak dates, and unusual pickup locations. They develop relationships with wedding planners, hotels, venues, and corporate clients that reduce the cost of acquiring each reservation. They also maintain backup relationships with other licensed operators. Outsourcing and overflow booking reduces the margin on that particular job. It protects the customer relationship and prevents you from purchasing a second vehicle merely because several Saturdays are already full. A second limousine doubles capacity only when demand overlaps. It also doubles registration, insurance exposure, storage, maintenance schedules, and the number of assets capable of sitting unused. Preventive maintenance consumes cash before it produces visible value. A repair reserve lowers the amount available during a strong month. Conservative financing makes growth look slower. Those decisions are not exciting. They prevent one bad weekend from becoming a year-long recovery. Exit value depends heavily on the vehicle's condition, age, conversion quality, service history, and whether the customer relationships belong to the company or personally to the owner. A buyer may pay for dependable booking history, strong reviews, commercial accounts, telephone numbers, referral relationships, and operational systems. The buyer will discount a company whose entire value disappears when the original owner stops answering the phone. The limousine itself remains a depreciating, specialized asset. Custom features that impressed your customers may have little value to the next buyer. A vehicle approaching a major repair cycle can lose value quickly while the lender continues expecting the remaining balance. Unlike owning the building where a company operates, purchasing the limousine does not guarantee that the underlying asset will appreciate while you work. Subscribe if you want the next ownership fantasy tested this honestly. So, is owning a limousine worth considering? It can be when the vehicle is purchased conservatively, debt remains manageable, maintenance reserves are genuine, and repeat referral sources keep the calendar productive beyond a few peak weekends. The strongest operator understands that booked hours, committed hours, and paid miles are three different measurements. The model struggles when the purchase is driven by appearance, every deposit is treated as profit, and the owner counts unpaid labor as investment return. In the representative base year, $135,000 in bookings left $27,000 before fairly paying the owner. The final result is determined by everything happening between reservations, empty miles, waiting time, cleaning, communication, and the maintenance that decides whether the long black car arrives exactly when the customer's irreplaceable moment begins.